Howdy folks, Sapper here, aka Sean, and I'm bringing you some Next War Iran. It is, I believe, turn 5. I'm pretty sure it's turn 5, doesn't matter. It is the next turn, whatever number that happens to be. So let's see here. We are getting ready to conduct the air superiority, or yes, the air superiority step. So this is kind of what we're looking at. And again, right, like each side is supposed to secretly commit whatever forces they have. Since I'm playing both sides, doesn't really matter. We kind of know that, where's my, let me get my guys here, my forceps, tweezers, whatever you want to call it. We know that the Allies want air superiority, right? Like that's, in any kind of modern war, that's what America has always, like, that's how America wins, right? If we can control the skies, we can basically, it dramatically helps us control the ground. So that has been pretty much doctrine since World War II, is air power wins wars, right? Yep, you still need dudes on the ground, but in order to support those dudes on the ground, we need to control the skies. So we can kind of guess that the Allies are going to commit most of what they have. You can see we got a lot of stuff in the flown box, which kind of hurts, right? There's a couple F-15s in there, which those are kind of crucial. What you can't see because it's out of the camera lens is there's the carrier base guys. I think we have, I don't know the terminology for the Navy stuff, squadrons or whatever, but there's basically 4 chits worth of aircraft in the Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. There are the 2 Wild Weasels in there, so I don't count the Wild Weasels because their role is not air superiority, right? So we've got some Wild Weasel here. Those guys aren't going to count. That A-10 obviously is not going to do anything for air superiority. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so this is what we've got. Looks like we've got some Aussies here. The only problem I have with the Aussies as far as game-wise goes, it's very hard to tell because they used a really dark blue for the silhouettes and the numbering. Like, looking on my camera screen, you can't tell the difference between this one and this one. But that fight, it's a dark blue. So those are the Aussies. And then we got the Brits right here. We've got some Marines that showed up. So this is what we're looking at. I'm not sure. Let me see here. We've got 7. No, we got this guy too. Didn't think about him. So we have 8. And then let's see what we have in the Navy. So we have 2 carriers. Actually, these guys I don't think can fly. Actually, they can. So the guys, there's 1 carrier in the Indian Ocean, and that is the Abraham Lincoln, which are these guys here. And because they are medium ranged and they are in the Indian Ocean, let me see, they can fly missions, but they are halved. I don't know if I want to commit those guys. I don't want to, it's not doing them any good to fly with half. So I guess basically the way that would work out is you are carrying more fuel but less ordnance. And I don't know if I want the Teddy Roosevelt aircraft committed. Maybe I do. As a matter of fact, I will commit 1. I'll commit that guy. So he'll fly because he has the long range capability. So this is what we'll do. And then, oh, I know what I wanted to say. I lost my train of thought a little while ago. For whatever reason, I looked in the rules. So during air superiority combat, you can't re-engage. So let's say this guy kills we're in long range combat. he kills this guy, he cannot re-engage somebody in standoff combat, which I'm not quite sure why it's that way in air superiority. In interceptor combat, you can re-engage somebody else, right? Like you kill the guy that you're engaged with in the next phase. So you have long range, standoff, and then dogfight. So if I kill my guy in interceptor-based combat, if I kill my guy in long range, I can re-engage somebody in standoff. If I kill my dude in standoff, I can re-engage somebody in dogfight. If I kill my dogfight guy, I can't re-engage anybody. And I'm not sure. I might have to ask Mitch why that's the way it is. Why air superiority you can't re-engage. But we'll play by the rules for now. I mean, and again, it's my game, right? I can always decide to, you know what, I don't like that rule. But we'll see how it plays out. So let me see here. Ooh, boy, it's not looking good. It is not looking good. Now, let's move this up here a little bit so we can see that a little bit better. Obviously, all these guys in the flown box can't. That was still holdouts from last turn. This guy can commit right here. Do we want to do that? Yeah, I think the Chinese are going to throw that guy in there. These F4s. Yeah, the Iranians are going to be desperate to hold. The Iranians don't want to lose the air superiority because they have the AWACS advantage, which is helping. It will help keep the Abraham Lincoln in the Indian Ocean. We don't want the Abraham Lincoln as the Iranians. We don't want the Abraham Lincoln getting to the Strait of Hormuz or possibly the Persian Gulf. In fact, there's an amphibious assault unit and a surface action group in the Indian Ocean, and the Allies want those guys into the Strait. The non-Allies do not want them. All right, so now because the non-Allies have AWACS advantage, they get to choose, and they have an AWACS advantage of 4, so they get to choose 4 engagements. Really, the only one that are worth it is this one here. Probably all these 4s. The 3s, you're not getting an advantage whatsoever. And all these guys are pretty much the same. However, we've got the double asterisk, which is long-range combat. Doesn't look like I'll call them the Axis powers. It's just easier than saying Axis it's shorter than saying non-allies. We don't want to pick these engagements because these guys have long range, so they'll get to attack first. So we're going to choose these. All right. So there we go. Now I get to choose 1 engagement. Well, the Allies get to choose 1 engagement. Let's try to get Tom Cruise here in Top Gun. We got to do Navy to Navy. There we go. Look at that. All right, now these 4 will get to pick who they want. Now I can choose to not pick anybody. I believe, you know what? I don't remember. I think maybe they all. If there's extras, then I can choose to stay out of combat. These are total mismatches. Although I believe last turn there was an F7. I think it was an F7. It was, or maybe it was an F4 that actually got the best of an F-35, or maybe it was that F-22. I don't exactly remember, but there we go. So everybody's matched up. Kind of worked out well that way. All right, so in air superiority combat, it basically says, oops, sorry about that. Basically says just do every phase of air superiority combat because there's no re-engagements. So we would look here. So these guys have long range, these guys don't. So he gets a free shot. You take that number minus that number, and that's what your differential is. So you look over here, so it'd be a +1. Now when this guy engages in standoff, it would be a -1, right? So 3 minus 4 is -1. So there's kind of how that chart works. Red's the Axis, blue will be the Allies. So this F-35 gets a free shot at +1. So I only need to roll the 1 die, and 8 is not going to do anything. So now the blue die is on the +1, and then the red die, 3 minus 4, will be on the -1. want to get low numbers, and it looks like that F4 is going to get the better of that F-35. So 7, that's nothing. Are there any DRMs? +1, non-NATO, Japanese, Russian, PRC, that's standoff. I would say that that is a +1 to the red die, I'm pretty sure. So that's now a 4. So a 4 on the -1 is nothing. So we got lucky, 100% lucky on that one. All right, this dude is feeling kind of cocky. This number is higher than this number, so he gets to shoot first in dogfight combat because it represents a better airplane. And he gets a -1 because of that pilot. Oh, can you see that with my big fat finger? That -1 right there is his pilot rating. So he gets a -1 to the die roll. So on the +1, he is rolling so crappy, dude. 7, that doesn't do anything. So what this is gonna roll low. Watch this. This is gonna be actually very pathetic. An 8. So nothing happens. So these guys, combat is done, and they live to fight another day. All right. I think I will probably do maybe one. I'll just do one more combat, and then because you guys don't want to see every single one of them, this will take forever to do that. So I'll do one more, and then kind of show you. Actually, let's do one that's a little bit more exciting here. We'll do probably the best plane. This is probably the best air superiority fighter on the board right now. So they both have 1 asterisk, so they're going to fight simultaneously in standoff combat. He is on the +1, he is on the -1. And that is not going to be good for that Chinese aircraft. So the 8 on the +1 is nothing, and the 1 on the -1 is an abort. So this guy gets aborted, and he goes to the abort box over here. So, all right, I'm going to finish up doing these off camera because, again, we've been 12 minutes in, and you guys probably don't want to see all of that, but that's basically how air superiority goes. All right, air superiority combat is completed, and it looks like we have a couple of damaged units and an aborted one. This guy decided to withdraw after he lost standoff combat, so he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm out of here. So there we go. These are the forces. So it looks like it's going to be pretty much 1-to-1, and so we'll have to adjust the AWACS advantage. Although the advantage does go to the Allies, right? Because we have that 1 extra plane. And then if we look up here, we're able to destroy 1 plane, and then we aborted this J-11 and damaged and aborted the F-7 and the F-4. Oh, I forgot to note it or mention this. That F-14 is damaged, so the Iranian Tom Cruise lives to fight another day. So let's go over here and look at the air superiority chart so we can figure out what the differential is. All right, so what are we looking at? It is, I think it is less than 1.5 to 1. So now it looks like we are contested. So it doesn't really matter here, and there is a no shift to the AWACS. And I think I incorrectly had the AWACS advantage at 3 last turn. Is it really going to matter overall? Probably not. So it was 4. So the Allies need to, next turn, they're really going to need to, if they can pull off what they did last time, then actually we need to do better. We need to do at least advantage. But anyway, so the Allies are getting the air battle moving in the right direction. So there's air superiority combat. We will be back in a bit with some more interesting stuff. All right, naval detection step. The Theodore Roosevelt's been point detected, not detected, and then we got down here all of these guys in the Indiana. I almost said Indiana. Indian Ocean were point detected as well. So it's a good thing. I'm kind of glad I chose to not use any of the aircraft from the Abraham Lincoln. I only used the one from the Eisenhower, but that will probably deter the non-allies from doing too many airstrikes on the Theodore Roosevelt. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I can always make a determination later if cruise missiles and surface-to-surface missiles and all that are really successful, and this guy ends up having a strike 2 on it. I might, that the Axis powers might be willing to risk some aircrafts in an airstrike on the Teddy Roosevelt, because that is such a juicy target, right? That's 20 victory points if we can sink that. And of course, in the real world, if Iran or any of its allies were able to sink an American aircraft carrier, I mean, the implications of that would be huge. So anyway, what phase are we in next? Let's see here. Detection of naval units, mine clearance. I'm not going to do that. All right. Special operations forces phase. It's the second one, but because it's a contested turn, there's only the one. So it's technically the first, even though by the rules it's the second. But I'll set that up and let you know what happens. All right, Special Forces phase has just been conducted. There was a little bit of mild success, not a whole lot. Like the Special Forces phase can sometimes, like, it's exciting, right? But then it's very anticlimactic. I don't remember if I detected this guy or not, but if it wasn't detected, it's detected. So nothing exciting, right? Like this guy is now detected. We were able to get a strike 2 result on this guy, which is awesome. So now we might want to follow that up with a cruise missile attack, or send in some B-52s or B-2s or some B-1s or something to finish that guy off, because we only need a strike 1 result to destroy this surface-to-surface missile emplacement. Let me see where else. Detection, cause a strike 1. Nothing. The Houthis and these Iranian special forces were unsuccessful with doing anything here, attacking these installation boxes there in Saudi Arabia. And then the Iranians and the Chinese were unsuccessful reducing the air defense track. The French were also unsuccessful, and this is the only special forces unit out of all of them that did not survive its mission. So the French, I'm not sure what their special forces are called, but these guys are bad press now for these guys. So the second special forces phase is now complete. And now we will end up going to the first strike phase. So I'll start setting that stuff up and be back. All right, I have allocated. So we're in the first strike phase. I've allocated the first step. Words, Sean, words. We're not going to do any kind of nuclear weapons. So that's the first step. Second step is missile, SSM, and cruise missile strikes, then resolve. So both sides allocate. What I did not do is, let me see here. The Allies did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Allies have allocated 8 cruise missiles. I looked at my reinforcements and they'll be getting 8 at the end of the turn, so I decided to do it. And the non-allies have allocated 4 SSMs to try and take out the old Theodore Roosevelt. The Chinese have 6 cruise missiles. And I basically said, hey, I gave myself 20% chance that the Chinese are going to use their cruise missiles on an attack this turn. Where did I come up with 20%? It's an arbitrary number. We are in turn 5. So basically 4 turns have elapsed. 4 turns is basically 2 weeks. So we're 2 weeks into this war in the Persian Gulf. And I think that the Chinese, their intervention level is a 2. So basically a 2 is they are allocating naval and air assets, supplies, intel, and special operations forces. I think that the Chinese, they are not as invested in this. Yeah, they want to see the West fall, right? Like, I think Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all of those countries, they don't want to see, they see the West as a problem, right? But the Chinese also have to look out for themselves. So I think they're lending enough support to Iran to look like they're doing something. They're getting valuable intel and they're observing what we do. So that's kind of where I came up with the 20%. They're not as committed, like Iran is committed, right? But China, I did 20%. I think as the war goes on here, their chances of becoming more heavily involved will increase. So 6 cruise missiles is not a lot, so I figured I'd use them. The 20% is me giving a number and saying, hey, you know what? There's a chance we might shoot at something, but there's not enough good targets of opportunity at this point. So that's kind of why and the 20% chance wasn't successful, so the Chinese aren't going to release any cruise missiles. And also, Iran still has a pretty good reserve of SSM points, right? They have 10. They're going to use 4 right here. So they still have 6 left. So Iran's not in dire straits yet. So China's like, you know what? I'm not going to use these valuable assets at this moment. So there you have it. That's my explanation. That's my justification. And that's all that matters, right? Right. All right. So for SSM missiles, what you have to do first when you're attacking naval with any kind of missile is, at least with the Allies, the Americans, we get to use our CWIS first to see if any of these 4 missiles actually even make it to that point. So I get 4 attempts. An American aircraft carrier has an ADF value, excuse me, not ADF, has a AAA value. Let's see if we can see this. Probably not, just because. There we go. So have a AAA value of 3. So we're rolling on this chart right here. American CWIS close-in weapon systems are pretty good. So you get 2 -1s. So it's a -2 to the die roll. So as you can see right there, a roll of 6 has a pretty good chance of affecting the outcome. So if I get a +1, that means when I roll to see what the cruise missile does on the advanced strike chart, there's a +1 to the die roll. If I get an A or an X result, then the missiles are just outright destroyed before they even make it. So I have a -2 to my die roll. So basically, anything 8 or lower is good for me, or at least it'll help me. Of course, obviously, I want to get a 0, a 1, or a 2, and that way the missile's destroyed outright. So I get 4 rolls on this chart. Let's see here. Can I fit this in here? Yeah, there we go. All right, so the first 2 missiles. So we got a 2 and a 7. So the 2 destroys 1. So we have 3 missiles left. That 7 is now a 5. A 5 is a +1. So we have 1 roll with a +1. And I have a whole pile of 10-sided dice here. Why don't I just roll them all at once? And then the 0, that mushroom cloud is a 0. So that destroys another one. So there's 2 left. And that 8 is now a 6, which is a +1. So we have 2 rolls at +1 on the advanced strike chart. So then we go to here. So here's our advanced strike chart. We roll on the Naval 2. So that roll will be at +1. So let me see. Are there any other... okay, the Teddy Roosevelt is point detected, so that's a -1. So that negates the +1. I think that's it. So basically, we're just rolling straight up. All right, so we have 2 rolls at just a straight up roll. And those are Naval 2s. Yes, those are Naval 2s. Naval 2 against a hardened target. So I want to roll higher than a 5. So a 6 and a 6. So that is fantastic. Both of those missiles, neither one of them hit. So there you have it. That is advanced strike against the Teddy Roosevelt. Now, I have allocated a ton of cruise missile strikes, Allied cruise missile strikes. So you can see a couple here. So we're going to try to hit this installation, this off-map zone installation, which represents airfields, not airfields, because those are airfields, installations deeper within Iran someplace, right? And then we have 2 that are going to hit the detection track, hopefully. So let's see what we have now. We can clear that up. Those are no good, and those are gone. Put those right there. All right, can we see that? Yes, there we go. So let's see here. The 2 cruise missiles, what is this? Treat as rough terrain. Okay, rough terrain. Cruise missile, actually terrain does not matter because it is considered a hardened target. So cruise missile, I don't think there are. What am I attacking? Okay, I'm looking at that. All right, I wanted to check something real quick. If you can have AAA fire against missiles that are attacking an aircraft carrier, can the same be said for installations? And there's really nothing in there. I think it's naval AAA fire is effective against cruise missiles and all that. So we'll just pretend that there's no AAA fire against those missiles. So it is a cruise against a hardened target. 4 and a 5. Let's see here. Cruise. So that is a strike 1 plus a strike 1. So that is a strike 2. I think. All right, here we go. No, that's not what I want. All right, that is a strike 2, and there will be collateral damage, so we might be able to take out some aircraft here or damage some or what have you. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to do the detection track. I think air defense tracks, cruise missile. So we need to roll a 3 or less. And we did get 1 3, so that is a strike 1, which is basically, that just moves that down like that. Which is good. We want the detection track as low as we possibly can, so that way, I mean, I could also target the SAM track, but I think the detection track is a little bit more important. Because if they can't see me, they can't shoot at me. So that's kind of my logic behind that. I focus on this first and then worry about the other stuff later on. All right, the next we have a cruise missile against this surface-to-surface site, and then there are 2 cruise missiles trying to hit that off-map zone installation. All right, so that is a hardened target. So cruise missile against that, that's just 1. Hopefully we get a good roll here. A 3. That is a strike 1, so now we turn that into a strike 2. And that goes back into the box. And then we have that, just so that just keeping me honest. So you know I'm not cheating. Of course, who am I cheating against? I'm cheating against myself, so it doesn't matter. 9 and a 7, both of those are failures. I don't even need to look at the chart. And then I think I just have 1 more. And that'll be that guy right there. Hopefully we can get a strike 1 result on that guy. And that is not going to cut it. That's kind of upsetting. Now I'm going to have to probably got to use my brain here. I'm probably going to have to use some airstrikes. How many missiles was that? That was... I have to see if I have enough assets. So cruise missiles can only be launched from B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, and aircraft carriers. Maybe SAGs too. So that was, I believe that was, I had 10, right? So I used 8. So that's 3, 5. Actually, they don't go there. They go to here. That's 5. I have 1 can go from the Theodore Roosevelt. So that's 6. 1 can go from the Abraham Lincoln, which is 7. And I believe surface action groups can do another one. So then that will be 8. So that still gives me my 2 stealth bombers, which I will probably have to use one of those to finish the job here and finish the job here, because I only need to strike 1 on each one of those things. So I'll be back in a little bit when I figure out what's going on there. All right, so I've just got done looking. So it's the non-allies' turn to allocate helicopter strikes, air strikes, and what is the other part? And allocate escorts. I think it would be a fool's errand, because the only thing I can really go after is the Theodore Roosevelt. It has no strike markers on it. The chances of success, I mean, that Su-24. So we're looking at the last number in the rating. All right, so we're looking at the last number. So the 4 is good, right? You know, 2s are pretty low. 1s and 2s are pretty low because you're looking at the 1 or 2 column on the strike column. I mean, these Chinese guys, I mean, they might have a decent chance. But look at what escorts they have. The chances of them getting through. I mean, these guys, obviously you'd send escorts up with the strike mission. I almost think it's a fool's errand for the Axis powers to send a strike out to hit the Theodore Roosevelt. You know what? Let's just randomly roll for it. Let's just say there's probably a 1 in 4 chance that they will do that. God damn, was that fucking that full already? Hopefully, I had a message pop up on my phone that said that I'm starting to run out of space. And I might have said a bad word. Hopefully that didn't catch that, but I'm pretty sure it did, because that's the way things work. So if you hear an expletive, oh well. It's not like I'm monetizing this anyway. I try to keep this as family friendly as I can, so I apologize for that. But let's see. I think it's a 1 in 4 chance. So so the blue die will be the 10s and the red will be the 1s, and 86. So now they decided to err on the side of caution and not do any kind of airstrikes. Next thing is the Allies allocate wild weasels, airstrikes, helicopter strikes, and escorts. I'm going to definitely do that. I think the pendulum is starting to swing towards the Allies now, and there's probably going to be quite a few things, so I'll get back. Allied airstrikes and wild weasel strikes have been allocated, so I'm going to do wild weasel strike against the detection track. So the 2 wild weasels, and then I have my 2 escorts just in case they get detected, and the Axis powers decide they want to send up somebody to try to intercept. Then I'm going to send a stealth bomber to try to finish off this site here. I have an escort. He is stealth, so that'll give me an advantage Both of these are stealth, so it'll be harder to detect. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here. 2 stealths, try to finish off each one of these SSM sites. Okay, the Wild Weasel mission, surprise, surprise, was early detected of all things. So the Iranians scrambled to try to intercept. I did roll to see if the Chinese would commit. The Chinese decided to not commit. They're like, hey, this is your fight. So the Iranians scrambled the best that they had. So it looks like we've got long range, and then these are standoff. So we'll get 2 free shots here before these guys even get to do anything. What do we got? Looks like, so that one's even. Yeah, we'll do that one first. That's a 9, so that missed, of course. I'm telling you, man, I always roll really cruddy with the allies. And then this guy, he is at a +1, or on the, not a +1, but on the differential. So what's that? That's a 3. So this guy's aborted, so he goes back to the abort box. Now, this guy can re-engage, so it's 2 against 1. That dude is probably toast, but he's going to square off against that guy. Those guys are both even. They're both on a 4, so red will be the non-allies. And it's a 4 and an 8, so I have a 4 at 0. That's advantaged. So in the dogfight section, that will be advantaged. There we go. You can barely see that. This guy still gets a free shot, though. And he rolled a 6, which is not good enough to do anything. So now we're in dogfight. So he's got the advantage. So he gets to roll first before this guy even gets to roll. His pilot rating, you can see that, might be able to see there's a tiny -1. So he has a -1 to his die roll. That's a 1, so that's probably going to do something. A 1 is damaged and aborted. So this guy goes packing. Goes home packing. He's still alive, though. All right, so these guys are done. They have done their job. So the Wild Weasels maybe still get through. Let's see. So they were early detected. So now we do Sam. Sam is a 7. So we'll roll for against both of them. So we got a 5 and a 1. Aborted. So 1 Wild Weasel is aborted. Ooh, man. I usually do red right. So this guy's on the right, so he is aborted. Yep. And then this guy has a +1 to his die roll to see what happens, how successfully he is on the track. And I believe we also do AAA fire. Non-standoff strike missions. I don't know if Wild Weasels are considered standoff or not. I don't know. It doesn't say in there that Wild Weasels have standoff capability. But I think the AAA will take place after they do their thing. So we'll still do AAA against them. So let's roll to see the success of the Wild Weasel. That's an 8. That is not successful whatsoever. It was +1 because of the SAM that had to duck and weave and dodge and all that kind of stuff. So unsuccessful. Not surprising. It's and then what's the AAA? AAA is 2. Oh my goodness. Well, it's a +2, which doesn't matter. The only thing that matters when you encounter AAA on the way out is if you get in a damaged roll. So nothing happens. These guys make it safely back home. There was a lot of effort to do what they did for very little reward. All right, so now what we got to do is we're going to go over here. We'll go ahead and do this. Let's see if they're detected. A 2. What's your detection? Your detection is a 4. A 2 normally is just plain old detected, which means they can be fired at by SAMs. However, they are comprised solely of stealth, which is a +5. So that turns that into a 7, but then the AWACS advantage is -3, which turns that to a 4. So they are detected anyway. So they are detected. Again, not early detected, they're plain detected. So that means that they can be attacked by SAMs only. SAM is a 7. That's a 5, but it's stealth, so that makes it a +3. So that's an 8. Nothing happens. So that strike does make it through without being harassed too badly. It's a hardened target with a strike value of 5. Okay, nothing. This is so demoralizing. And we'll do the same thing here. Let's see if you're detected. What did I get last time? Detection of what? Detection of 4. +3 is 6. All right, so I think that, isn't that what I rolled the last time? That's an 8. And then -3 is a 5. All right, so no detection, so nothing goes on there. Let's see if our strike is successful. That one might be successful. That is a strike 1, which basically destroys that. So you are destroyed. Finally. Finally got one. I don't know. 4. I do get some victory points for that. That's +2 victory points for destroying one of those. So that's good. And I'll be back. All right, I just rolled for collateral damage because I'm to that point in the strike phase. I rolled a 1, so air. So the striking player chooses 1 step loss from an air unit in a basing box attached. That was an off-map zone basing box, which is basically all the Iranian stuff. And then they lose an air mobile point. No big deal. But I will 100% take the 100% take a step loss from a something or other. What do we want to do? 1 step loss. There's a lot to choose from here. I probably ought to hit one that's already hit, right? Probably this MiG-29 right here. What is that guy? Yeah, I think we'll do that. So these are air losses this turn. So we've lost 2. Oh, that's points too. I believe air units are +2 each, but I'll figure that out later. All right, the last thing I have to do is going to be the basic movement in combat phase, because there is no initiative move in combat phase because it's a contested turn. So I'm not going to bore you with all that, really, because, I mean, there's all these off-map dudes that I got to move. That's not important because there's no allied ground forces anywhere on the map, so it really doesn't matter where they go. But the only thing I was going to do is I'm trying to get this group from the Indian Ocean into the Gulf of Oman. So I've looked at all the different modifiers. So -2 for each SAG CV. So there's one surface action group and one carrier. They no longer have air supremacy. The inshore box is enemy controlled, so that's a +1. ASW level is -3. Submarine threat level is +4. There's no mine markers. The Iranian patrol boat level doesn't apply because this is an at-sea hex. And then the non-allies are going to expend 3 surface-to-surface missiles for a total modifier of +3, and this is where we're rolling. So let's go ahead and roll for that. +3, so that's a 4. Sea movement successful, so a 1 + 3 is less than or equal to 5. So that is not a good... It's not good. So all of these guys are going to go into the Gulf of Oman. So things are going to start rapidly changing now. And then don't forget, I don't know if I'm going to try to get these guys from here to here or not. Didn't work. Let me think about that. But the rest of the movement is basically going to be off-map zone stuff. So anyway, the only thing we have after that is going to be the reorganization and reinforcements, and this is what we're looking at, is all of this stuff, a lot more air units. You can see that there's a lot more allied stuff than non-allied stuff there. So things are going to definitely start ramping up here in the next couple turns. But anyway, that is, and I cannot forget, I was about ready to close out, but I cannot forget the petroleum points, victory points that the non-allies get. So they get, I believe, 16. So that will put them, they're right now they're at 100, and that is not right. Is that right? I don't remember where they're at. I don't think they're at 125. I think they're at 115, I think. We're going to do that. I think they're at 115. So they're going to add 16 to that, so now they'll be at 131. So that's where the non-allies are sitting. The allies got 6 more. So it looks like they're going to be at 76. So the non-allies are killing it only because of our petroleum, or the petroleum sites. I haven't decided to take any of those out yet. But this is going to be an important step right here. So anyway, that is turn number 5. Thanks for watching.